Kakadosh Boker Or. I hope all is well. Bekiim Bahalacha. This is going to be Bekiim Bahalacha 5. This is Ben Hametzarim, which is Siman Taf Kuf Nun Aleph 551. We are day 26. So this is going to be on page 85. On the bottom, this is Halacha 114, Kuf Yud Daled. We're talking about now wearing laundered clothing. So the Halacha states that it is forbidden to wear freshly laundered clothing during the week of Tisha B'Av, even if they were laundered beforehand, which means Shavua Shechal Bo Tisha B'Av, you're not allowed to wear clothing, which is, again, we're not talking about new clothing, we're talking about that you just wash them, but you're not allowed to wear that. It is likewise forbidden also to use freshly laundered bed linens or hand towels. So anything is also the same halacha over there, right? As explained above, it is now 115, in halacha 110, right? It says that Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbat, and the fast is going to be postponed until after the Shabbat, right? So therefore, or for example, on the Sunday, the same halacha would apply. Okay, so then again, you're allowed to wear freshly laundered clothing throughout the previous week, because since there's no Shavua Shechal Bo Tisha B'Av, so like this year, there's no Shavua Shechal Bo Tisha B'Av because it comes out on Sunday. So therefore, the entire week before, you could wear regular clothing. Halacha Kuf Tet Zayin, this is now 116. In places where the weather is very hot in the midsummer, and the people perspire profusely, making it necessary to change clothes often. Zotomiret, here we're talking about a place which is the mamash cham, and since it's very, very cham, right, you're talking about Miami and other places, so therefore it's very difficult. So people should prepare several sets of clothing before Shabbat Chazon to be worn during the following week. That is, a person can wear a freshly laundered garment for an hour so that it's not considered any more freshly laundered, and then he puts it aside and wears it during the next week of Tisha B'Av. And in this manner, you could prepare several sets of clothing for during that week. So for example, you just come, you put on a clothing, you wear for an hour, and then you could change. The concept is that after an hour, it's already not considered freshly, you don't have that fresh crisp anymore. So therefore, you're allowed now to wear it. If you look in 129 in the bottom, in the footnote, it says the Or L'Tzion rule that one must wear the garments enough to begin absorb one's body's perspiration. This may take only a few minutes, and might happen immediately upon putting them on. The Rishon LeZion, he brought down a Darkei Chaim V'Shalom, where it's written that it's sufficient to wear each garment only 1 minute. But again, it's reasonable to assume one should wear for a little while, so that way it's not fresh anymore. And therefore, then when they asked the Rishon LeZion about this, he applied at least 1 hour, right? Regarding towels, or LeZion says that even if it was used once, so then it's not considered freshly laundered. Okay, the next halacha, which is going to be is still the continuation of 116. What about can you prepare on Shabbat in itself? Which means that now it's on Shabbat and you want to do it on Shabbat in itself. So he says like this: if someone did not prepare sets of clothing before Shabbat Chazon, it's possible to prepare them on Shabbat itself. He can wear one set of clothing Friday evening, and then he takes it off to go to sleep, and he puts it away for the next week. In the morning, he wears a second set, and then he has 2 sets of clothing during the week. If you'll need a third set, take a nap, and then again put it away, and then again you go for mincha. So that by doing that, you basically have a few sets of clothing. This process does not infringe the prohibition of hachana, because you're actually using it on Shabbat in itself. So it's not a chana. Don't say that you're doing it for that, but it's not considered a chana, but you're actually using it on Shabbat. Look at footnote 130. The Rishon LeZion and Lichot Olam did not mention this detail that the person dresses now in order to go out to pray for mincha. The Yechavedat, however, did mention it. So apparently it's necessary for him to go out to pray mincha, so it's apparent that he's wearing it for the sake of Shabbat, and only just stam that he's preparing for weekdays. Look in the Rav Pe'alim, also the Or L'Tzion, by dressing and then going out to pray mincha, no one would suspect him of dressing for the sake of a weekday. Okay? Halacha Kuf Yud Zayin, 117. What about freshly laundered undergarments? So now we're talking about the clothing. We're talking about underclothing. So technically, it should be permissible to wear freshly laundered undergarments, including socks during the week of Tisha B'Av. The restriction against wearing freshly laundered clothes was not imposed for those garments worn to absorb the body's perspiration. This is especially for people that are accustomed to change undergarments daily. Nevertheless, it is proper to prepare undergarments also for Shabbat, before Shabbat Chazon, for the week of Tisha B'Av, in this manner described in the previous halacha as well. So look in footnote 131, Rishon LeZion ben Auerbach ruled that if it causes discomfort not to change the socks daily, he may wear fresh ones even during the week of Tisha B'Av. 132 says that Rishon LeZion cited the decision of Rishon LeZion ben Auerbach against the restriction against wearing freshly laundered clothing, and it does not apply to clothing which are underclothing. This is likewise the response of Vayvarech David, right? Also the Mek Yoshua and others. However, the Ben Ish Chai wrote that in places where it's very hot and people perspire profusely, they should prepare them. So therefore, apparently, right, the Ben Ish Chai did not hold of this. So obviously the Ben Ish Chai was saying that you should prepare underclothing, even though the other opinions that we just mentioned above say that you don't really need to. Okay? The next thing he says in researching the subject, he comes and he says that the Maran regained the issue of a mourner. So he says that the response of Mishpat Tzedek Ramezi and the response of Bet David both ruled that even if the garment had been worn for an hour with someone else, he could wear it during the Shiva. And Rav Yaakov Castro also brings down as V'Torah Mayim that they may wear that garment. There is support for the lenient right from a Tosafot and from Maram Morotumuk. Furthermore, Rashi also quoted that there is no restriction against the mourner wearing fleshly laundered clothing during Shiva. There's likewise the opinion of Yitzchak Yat, right? And he says also the Rambam. Although the Shulchan ruled in the majority of the poskim, right, who ruled that it's forbidden to wear freshly laundered clothing during the week of Tisha B'Av, there's a Safek Sfeka. He says, first of all, maybe the halacha is like Rashi and the Rambam, there's no restriction whatsoever even for a mourner, despite the fact that Shulchan Aruch ruled otherwise. Even if the halacha is like that, maybe that is like the opinion that they say that as long as it was worn for an hour, there's no problem. Regarding undergarments, there's even a stronger basis to be lenient, and therefore the Maran concluded by saying that for sure you could, be lenient, right, to prepare the set of clothing before Shabbat and wear them during the week of Tisha B'Av. It is clear, right? He says that for the discussion, the Maran ruled that even undergarments should be prepared by wearing for an hour beforehand, right? As Ben Ishchai wrote, this is also what Maran says in Yechavedat, and that's also the opinion of the Or Letzion. So now he says, we asked the Maran in Shol Letzion concerning this, and he replied that one should prepare the clothing to change into during the week of Tisha B'Av, although the poskim that see that it's not necessary. And the Or Letzion says that if someone wears several undershirts one top of another, several socks, all the garments can be prepared simultaneously. And he says that someone has worn these garments in such a manner, if he would offer another person even the outermost one, the person would also, right, would not want it. So because of that, there's not going to be a problem. Okay, Halacha 118. Garments left lying on the ground. If someone forgot to prepare them for Tisha B'Av, it's possible to rely on the poskim that if you just leave them lying on the ground for an hour, then you could wear them again. This is the 133. It says it's the Maharash. Maharash, that he may wear laundered clothing, this time about a mourner now, if it was left on the ground. And the Bet David Bistritz also wrote in the same leniency for Tisha B'Av. On the other hand, there was a shoot that said that he didn't want to rely upon this leniency. The Rishon LeZion ruled that since Rashi and the Rambam wrote that there's no restriction wearing freshly laundered garments, so then again you could be lenient, obviously. Okay? And that's what he says, that if someone failed to prepare the clothing before Shabbat Chazon, so then that's what he could do by relying upon the Rashi and the Rambam, right, as well. Last halacha 119. If someone checks into a hotel during the week of Tisha B'Av, he may sleep on the fresh linens on the bed. If possible, he should put them on the ground for a short time, suggested in the Bav Halacha, and then put them back on the bed. The guest should inform the hotel management that he does not want room service to change his linens until after Tisha B'Av. And if they did change it, so again, he may still use it. And a Jewish owner of a hotel may change the linens when the best guests leave the hotel and new guests come. The nature of most people is considered not hygienic to sleep on somebody else's pillowcases and all those things, and therefore it's going to be, because it's suffering, so it's an inconvenience, so then it's going to be permitted. And the same halacha would apply if someone who comes to be a guest at a friend's house. They could change the linens to fresh linens during the week, because again, nobody's going to use other people's linens, and this is what's brought down also in the Rishon LeZion, ruled accordingly to the lenient opinion, since Rashi and the Rambam, again, they say that you're not obligated to wear, there's no isur of wearing freshly laundered clothing, so therefore you could do that. Have a wonderful day.